Hello ladies and gents, welcome back to Chaos TV's live coverage of the US Challenger Series number 15. It is the grand finals today in a best of 5 format. If you have just joined us, you've missed two awesome games, but it currently resides at a 1-1, completely even, as we jump into the picks and bans stage of Game 3. I'm Met is joined by Pulse. I'm really looking forward to this game.
Yeah, I agree completely, Metas. The first game was a bit of a landslide, that has to be said, to SK-Gaming, but the second time round, TCM holding on in their base, even after losing their inhibitor tower, still managed to pull it back into the late game with a superior team fighting potential. But Caston, Jax, Renekton, Nidalee and Elise have been banned out so far. Caston's an interesting ban. I don't think that was banned in the previous series.
Well, I can't remember if it was, because you know what my memory's like, but if it is, it was completely direct against Belgian Beast. He is renowned for his awesome Kassadin play. It's his main champion, or definitely in his top 3, so banned completely against him. First lock-in, again, will be the Lee Sin, so Svenskeren's going to be rocking that out in the jungle.
Yes, indeed. Elise also banned out, along with Shyvana, which were banned out in the last game, and Shyvana had a major impact on that first game. This time, I'm going to hope that TCM don't bring out Volibear. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why they lost the first game, in my opinion. Nidalee is going to be banned out as well, and yeah. So Lee Sin essentially means the early game, it's a lot harder to kind of instigate those ganks, because Lee Sin can counter gank very efficiently, and he'll generally be starting off those ganks as well. It gives you a lot of early game security and just sets up the team as a whole. It's not like you pick up the Lee Sin and then you can say, okay, well, we'll pick like Shyvana against this. It won't completely counter out a jungle. But looks like once again TCM going with what works. I shouldn't have started that sentence. It will be Caitlyn and Fresh.
Alliteration, though. It was impressive.
I know, much alliteration.
All the W's. Much wow. But regardless, somebody asking in chat, I would like to just get rid of this confusion, because it's a question we get asked plenty. This has nothing to do with Season 4, nothing to do with the promotions, nothing to do with LCS. It's a completely separate thing. It's the EUS Challenger Series. This is number 15 we've done, and it's basically a chance for the EU Challenger scene to get some spotlight shone on them, to get some games against some of the top tier teams in the Challenger circuit. So I hope that has got rid of some of the confusion. This is nothing to do with LCS, although these teams are probably going to be battling out for LCS at some point in the future. That being said though, Pulse, back into the picks and bans, you can see actually we're going to have a Jinx and Zyra bot lane. I'm assuming that's going to be Nif on Zyra again.
Interesting. We actually saw this lane combination yesterday, Metas, and it worked out very well. It's a very strong synergizing lane. Like, if you land one of the snares, you're going to land the other one. It's very easy to initiate on a lane, kind of similar to Lucian in a way, because you have very good trading potential. Works against Caitlyn because you will eventually get the range equal and, in fact, surpassing Caitlyn's range as you get onto the later game. And also Zyra as well. Very difficult for Fresh to get near you. Like, Flame Trumper comes down, splits you up from Caitlyn, and then also Grasping Roots on top of that. There's a lot more response in the bottom lane compared to what we saw previously.
Yeah, that's very true, and obviously both of us are behind right now, what the viewers see, because we're both casting from the stream. We'll be into the actual game itself through the friends list as soon as we get onto the loading screen. So these could have already been locked in, but I would be interested to see if that is a Vlad pickup, although they have just switched to the Orianna and locked it in, so it's not going to be Vlad. But I was kind of curious if it would be Vlad in mid from SK-Gaming. Instead, going to be the Orianna. As we've said before, Orianna is going to be one of those hotly contested mid lane picks, especially as it was available from the bans.
Yeah, absolutely. And also they'll be picking up the Lissandra and also the Jarvan, so gearing up for a very strong team fighting team. And also their peel is looking very strong for their AD carry of Matrako when we head into the later and latter stages of this game. And it's one of the reasons why they did so well last time. They had the Jarvan to split them up, they also had the Thresh there, and Caitlyn's damage eventually ramped up, and then they could go for the team fights again. Looks like what they're shooting for this game as well. Their mid game was also pretty secure in the form of Lissandra, strong team fighting potential. We'll see what they do to round up their lineup. But also with the Orianna pickup alongside Shen.
So if that is going to be the Riven lock-in, that would suggest Lissandra is going to be played mid from Belgian Beast. Again, is one of his favoured champions, very good on it. And Lissandra plus Jarvan is a lot of terror, in my opinion. That combination is super, super strong. So much CC, so much burst damage as well on top of that. Then you've got J1 Riven, who even though in the first game he fell pretty far behind, is still a very good Riven player overall. And I'm glad to see that he's not lost his confidence, that he's coming back into this thinking, okay, didn't work for game one, here's the time to make amends for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm interested to see how these lane matchups go naturally. Honestly, I don't expect to see lane swap-ups because there's no real reason to. Because the bot lane could go either way. The mid lane again could go either way, and top lane as well. So there's no real reason for these guys to swap on up. They might maybe move Riven into the mid lane, but there's not a massive need to. In fact, no, they probably won't. So anyway, guys, we'll be jumping to a quick commercial break, and when we get back, we'll be into the third game of the best of 5 series between SK Gaming and TCM Gaming. We'll see you shortly. Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to EOS Challenge Series number 15 with the grand finale with SK-Gaming and TCM-Gaming. And this is the best of 5 format with, well, a 1-1 at the moment. We're in the third game, and both of the teams looking to be very aggressive. I'm Pulse, and I'm joined by Metas.
Hey Pulse, how is it going, man? I mean, we've been casting this game and this tournament actually from the beginning, and I think this is the closest set of games we've had thus far, Pulse. I'm not sure if you'd agree with that, but it has been neck and neck, especially game 2. Massive kudos needs to be given to TCM because at one stage they were 11,000 gold behind and managed to claw their way back into the game and indeed take it. So momentum has to be in their side of the court right now.
Yeah, absolutely, and TCM go for the early vision, just plonk down the ward, and it doesn't look like we'll have any lane swap-ups. Honestly, there's no real need to. I was just taking a quick look at Barney D to see if they would indeed do so, but nope, they're just going to go for their standard lane matchups. Or are they? Nif heading up into the top jungle.
Pretty interesting. So, originally, we thought that it was going to be Lissandra in mid and Riven at top because Belgian Beast is the mid laner, of course, for TCM. But they're going to be switching this one around, and as you say, going to be a lane switch up as well from SK-Gaming. So Lissandra's going to be in a 1 versus 2. Already Anna against Riven in mid, and that's going to leave Shen in a 1 versus 2 at bot lane. What are your immediate thoughts on this, Pulse? Because quite a lot of information to take in.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Jinx and Nif will punch the top lane very hard because it's very difficult for Lissandra to get anywhere near the creeps. If Nif lands a grassing roots, then Flame Chompers will land, and she's probably going to die this early on. Plus, you'll have the extra presence from Svenskeren. He's already aggressing into this jungle, and by having the duo lane at top lane, they can offer their assistance, and even if they do see them, which they have, it's still going to be a 3 versus 2, and they've reacted to that. Neuroterador might try and steal this away with Smite. It's not going to happen, and now he's going to have to try something in response or fall behind completely.
Yeah, well, it's going to be red picked up from Svenskeren. Neuroterador comes around the side, but not going to be enough. Belgian Beast in the meanwhile tries to help out. But at the end of the day, that is a red buff steal for Svenskeren. And whenever he plays Lee Sin, Pulse, this is typically what he does. He's very, very aggressive in the laning phase, and he can look to put as much presence down on the map and as many kills as possible. Last time, it wasn't necessarily bad that he got 5 kills, but it definitely hurt his carries going into the later stages of the match.
Yeah, I agree completely. It gave them a huge amount of power in the middle game, but as soon as they just turtled in and took it to late game, then they got completely crushed. Now in the top lane, Neuroterador, his only decision is to go into the top lane that helped Belgian Beast push, because Lee Sin was quite likely just to sit up there and go for the 3-man dive. Yes, that's good because Belgian Beast will not fall behind now, but it's going to be a duo lane. It takes his presence away from the rest of the map, and it's just going to hurt TCM all over the board. It also means that Svenskeren, very easy decision, just go to his own red buff.
Yeah, absolutely. Now Turtle's going to get some farm. He's going to get some experience, I should say, from just leeching here with Belgian Beast. But this is allowing Svenskeren the freedom to try and make plays elsewhere. And now that he's level 4 with double buff, they could potentially look to engage at bot lane. I mean, Shen Lee Sin should be able to burst down with Troco if the Shadow Dash lands onto the AD carry of Caitlyn. That being said, though, Svenskeren's actually going back to spawn, so they feel Freddy is pretty much fine.
Yeah, he can farm under turret, like, fine. Like, there's nothing really to threaten him, especially with Jarvan being forced to keep himself in the top lane. Lee Sin might just recall and go back to the bot lane. There's nowhere else to go. Middle lane is okay. I mean, Jezz really can't offer that much to a gank, especially against Riven, and he probably didn't have the damage either before she just hops on back to the tower. Belgian Beast gotta be so careful as he jumps out with Glacial Path. But this is kind of the awkward situation of TCM. They just have to wait it out, and that's not the early game they really want from these types of picks.
And because it seems that Freddy is fine in this 1 versus 2, you can just see that Svenskeren is edging ever further ahead of Neuroterador, who's completely locked down at top lane. He has to be a constant feature up here, or they're going to lose their tower. So Svenskeren is having a pretty nice time with this, very much reminiscent of the first game, if you remember, Pulse, when he was playing Shyvana, and he was just farming around the map, while Neuroterador was trying his best on Volibear to keep top lane alive.
Yeah, for sure, and the fact that Belgian Beast is being pummeled in the top lane and Neuroterador is having to duo lane with him means that Shen will hit that level 6 faster, and it's a ticking time bomb for them. They either get an advantage now and they pick up a kill, or then they never get a kill in the laning phase, because they always have the threat of Freddy potentially going into a different lane. Of course they could base it out and then they could push in the bottom tower from Matroka and Barney D, but as soon as the bottom tower starts getting threatened, Lee Sin comes down there, and that's exactly what he's doing.
Yep, so Lee Sin coming down to bot, as you mentioned. Freddy is about to hit level... In fact, sorry, I was going to say about to hit level 6, but that's not the case. He's about quarter of the way through level 5. So, Stand United is still going to be a little while longer before it's available for use. Lissandra coming back to the top lane. So, Jarvan may be going to be able to have some freedom now to get some farm, get some experience under his belt as he picks up these double golems.
He's level 5, but he doesn't have the early game advantage from double buffs. He's also very low on mana as well, so he does, in fact, doesn't have the ability to go for a flag and drag. He can't go for a gank right now, realistically. He can recall, but then he's losing even more time, and it also threatens the top lane. He just has to walk back up there, take golems, and that's all he can really offer. Because if he leaves that top lane, then Candy Panda will destroy the tower, even very early on. Pow Pow just wrecks towers, and middle lane ultimate comes in.
Yep, JWoww did a lot of damage to Jezis, but now the gank coming in from Svenskeren, flashing in, will get stunned away, but still picks up the first blood with the summoner used in amongst all of the action. And they are now going to be pushing down the mid tower, knowing that Jarvan the Fourth could be around the corner, because he's no longer at top lane. That being said though, top lane, as you said, is just being decimated.
Absolutely, and now the push comes in for the mid lane for SK, and they're starting already to pick up these objectives. Jarvan should be able to get in there, but that's taking away from his presence in top lane, and if he leaves top lane, then Candy Panda's going to pick up that one himself. Bot lane, however, is still being pushed in by Matrock and Barney D. It's all down to Freddy122 to try his best to keep this one up.
So, first objective down from SK-Gaming. They could lose their bottom tower right now, but still Freddy's done a really good job. A stellar performance at bot lane from him, keeping alive this tower almost as long as the 2 versus 2 at top lane, because of course Jarvan the Fourth has been there the majority of the game. So 2-1 on towers with the first blood in SK-Gaming's hands. They're looking to start this one off very, very strong.
Yeah, TCM are already starting to find issues in the fact that they can't really go for fights anywhere. Riven has already started to fall behind of Orianna, so you can still outtrade her in a 1 versus 1, and Lee Sin's been running rampant in their jungle, so they can't go and fall back on their jungle to get some extra EXP and farm, because it's already been taken away from Svenskeren because of the great start that he had. Jesus will be pulling ahead, their skirmish fights will be even better. Shen has hit level 6, so they can't really go for fights anymore. They didn't actually choose to go into the jungle for the red buff. In fact, Svenskeren's going to be arriving there a little late and has already been picked up. So that would have been good if they could have kept that cycle up, because that would have exerted even more pressure. But as it is, they're so strong right now, no matter how TCM try to come back into this, they're going to have to try and outplay SK massively.
They are, but I guess one of the slightly good parts, the silver lining under the cloud right now from TCM is that their bottom tower is alive, so they have more global presence, in fact I should say map presence there, at the bottom side on the dragon, so they could try and transition that into a dragon if they feel they're strong enough. Being said, now Pterodor's going to pick up Wolves and the dual lane of TCM pushing down towards the dragon. So I think we're going to have that similar position as we had in game number 2 here, Pulse, where it's very much on a razor's edge, it's very close, pretty much a farming frenzy, until someone gets a pick, and then they'll transition into the dragon or more objectives.
Yeah, TCM had to be very careful in this position. Pterodor, yes, has the double buff, but Lee Sin's also around the area, and Shen also has the Stand United. Lissandra is gearing up though, she's heading towards the middle lane, and it looks like the call has been made that they don't want to go for the dragon right now. Svenskeren manages to get away his own red buff as Pterodor tries to aggress onto it. But both of these teams are gearing up around the dragon area. I think at least we will see one of these junglers look for a gank.
Well, Candy Panda is moving ahead now of Matroco and Caitlyn because the creeps were pushing past the tower. Matroco Barney D did not want to be committing themselves fully in case they did have Svenskeren coming down to gank them. So that's going to be nice for Candy Panda, getting a slight CS lead, picking up the CS right now. Svenskeren is lurking in the shadows alongside Jarvan, so this could turn into a 3 versus 3 situation, as we were calling before, if they get a pick moving on to Dragon. But with all the players down here, it's just going to come down to the execution.
Yep, and Seed will reveal Pterodor, and the plant will come up as well. Lee Sin still sees that, but they're probably stronger in the 3 versus 3. Caitlyn doesn't have as much damage as Candy Panda right now in a straight-up trade. Lee Sin definitely does a little more, and Nif's damage is vastly superior to Fresh. Just got to make sure that they don't land the CC into the wrong places. If Fresh manages to lock up Candy Panda, then they could start winning that trade. But the fact that both junglers went down there has just cancelled each other out.
Yeah, and both junglers will just be backing on away. Svenskeren goes to his wraiths. Now Terador was recalling, just cancelled it. So if they were to engage now, they would have the advantage in this 2 versus 3. But they're not going in for it just yet because they're not entirely sure where Svenskeren is. So it's pretty much just who has the more patience. Who's going to make that play at the right time? Because Svenskeren's now taking double golems. There's been probably 20 seconds where TCM could have hard engaged.
Yeah, however, SK have more room to maneuver around these situations because they don't necessarily have to have the right people there because Shen can still just stand united down. Yes, they leave top tower open, but they can still just move other people or maybe rotate their mid lane up to the top lane. In fact, they're making a strong 4-man push in the bot lane, which can very easily turn into a 5 versus 3 if they're not careful.
Yeah, that's a very good point about the stand united. Especially as Shen is pushing super hard at top, it would be difficult for Lissandra to take that tower down. You'd have to push 2 or 3 waves of creeps and then take a full tower in terms of hit points down as well. So they are looking to try and engage on this TCM right now. 4 players down here against the 4 of SK Gaming. Tower is below half hit points. Harassment coming in from Orianna, and I don't think SK want to start this fight. They may just go around here, clear the wards, and potentially start a dragon instead.
Yeah, when it comes to a team fight, it's actually going to be a lot closer. They'll be relying on their base damages. I'm not sure that's something they really want to risk right now. They still have the slight advantage in the fact they have an extra tower, and they are going to start it up, but this is still very risky. They can't just go into this and know 100% that they'll win this, and plus they don't really want to leave top tower exposed to Lissandra.
Yeah, you do have the grasping roots come through from Nif, not going to be connecting onto anybody. Now Jarvan the 4th taking point for his team, riffing around from the sides. Does get a plant in the face, however, and that's going to stop the dragon dance for now. But watch for one of these opportune moments from TCM or SK Gaming to try and go for that again. That being said, SK Gaming just going to push right down mid instead.
Yeah, there's no reason not to, because they have the woods in the jungle, they knew where everyone was coming from, so they would be heading around from the sides, and Terador is even finding it very difficult just to get to his tower right now, and in the meantime, they're just hammering away at this turret.
I think that's for me where SK Gaming's experience shines through and their synergy, because they always seem to catch TCM unawares in these situations, especially early to mid. TCM certainly start to pull themselves together in the later stages of the game, but it always seems to me that SK Gaming are making the plays, they're making the push, they're making the pressure happen on the map. Even though they didn't pick the tower up, they still took a good 300 or 400 hit points off it, and if they do that a few more times, that is going to be a free tower. So they're consistently looking to make plays.
Yeah, and I think SK are starting to recognize this and start to see the trend in these games. TCM consistently lose the laning phase. If not massively, they still lose it slightly, and that means that the beginning of the roaming phase will always go in SK's favor, and they're starting to pick they always pick themselves into better places as well. They're more maneuverable, they have the Shen, they have the global teleport. Lee Sin is more maneuverable than Jarvan. He's actually picked up the mobility boots to augment that, and they also have the bot lane, who's going to be into the right positions even faster as a result. So they know that they can beat TCM at that stage. It's all about trying to push that advantage home, and with the knowledge that they're going to beat them in that phase of the game.
So, now that we have a bit of a lull in the action, let's have a quick look at some of the items that have been picked up here, Pulse, and shine some light on anything that sticks out to you. It seems fairly standard overall. Caitlyn's gone for a BF sword, and Jinx has gone for more of the sustain with Vampire Acceptor Double Dorans. In fact, as I'm speaking, SK Gaming are going to try and make an opportune strike here on Dragon. They've already got it down to about a quarter of its hit points. This is going to be free, and again, this is what I was talking about before. The SK's timing is just exquisite. They always seem to be in the right place when it's needed.
Yeah, and they have a very good team for taking down objectives. Like Pow Pow again is not only good for towers, but very good for Dragon. And also Zyra plants are just really good for clearing that one out. Svenskeren down in the bot lane. They've landed the zap onto Matraco. Barney D looks to be the point of contention, but he will flash on out. Terador still in the bot lane though.
This is like a slow, steady brutalizing right now from SK Gaming. They're taking objectives. It's not necessarily bursted down instantly, but they're just taking a few shots, backing away, taking a few shots, backing away. Like a school of piranha is what comes to mind here, Pulse, because they're constantly just nibbling at your toes, and they don't let up, even for a second. That pressure is constantly, it's relentless.
Indeed, and the junglers have been all over this game, but They're a Pterodor. The fact that these junglers and their gank paths are very, very similar just means that they cancel each other out at every single turn, and that's one of the reasons we're not seeing very much action in terms of kills, because both the junglers are just finding themselves in bot lane and then saying, oh, hi, how's it going? And we'll just back off to their jungle and start farming again. So it's just down to how the lane matchups go. And I still think that still slightly favours SK, but Belgian Beast doesn't have anything to fear from Shen. Like, she's ranged and can clear like minion waves very, very easily. Like, you just saw Isard just completely clear that one out. So she's not being stopped from farming by Freddy, and she can deny Freddy from farming just a little bit. I mean, she's caught up to his farm, even though he had like a 15 CS advantage.
Yep, and now you can see, speaking of Freddy, TCM's jungler is thinking about to gank here, and there's no ward down. So Freddy's not aware of this. Here comes a flag and drag from now Pterodor. Shadow Dash away, and Belgian Beast didn't really want to jump on top of that because Svenskeren was in hot pursuit. So it could have been an overextension from TCM. Now Belgian Beast is going to be auto-attacking away Freddy, and Svenskeren and now Pterodor going back to mid. So again, it's this tense, flirtatious kind of League of Legends where neither team's fully committing. They're just taking small advantages here and there.
Yeah, and Candy Panda has just picked up a full Bloodthirster, and there's no reason not to at this stage. The fact that the laning phase is starting to prolong more than it would usually, especially when we see both of these teams' kind of playstyles, the sustain and actual trading power from Bloodthirster is a lot stronger than just going for like straight Infinity Edge, which would help you out towards kind of the middle stage of the game. So Candy Panda can stay in lane a lot longer than Caitlyn at this point, unless she also goes for Bloodthirster, and that cripples her damage when we get later on into the game.
Yeah, speaking of later on into the game here, Paul, looking at the two compositions, which of these do you favour in the later stages of the matchup? If it gets to that 40-50 minute time frame, who do you think is going to edge ahead?
It's still pretty similar. When it comes to a team fight, it's very, very similar indeed. The biggest factor usually when you see a Shen in the game is the split pushing, but they have an answer in the form of Lissandra. Like, she can clear a wave from a massive range, and I'm not even sure if we will hit that stage in the game. Well, that was some funky mechanics.
Now J1 takes a few shots in the backside, but again, they're whittling down this mid tower. Now Pterodor has been quite out of position, but here comes Belgian Beast. Flame Chompers, however, perfect positioning. That minefield just stopping anyone from passing through. With this mid tower now, 292 hit points remaining. It's only going to be a few auto attacks from Candy Panda. And it's important to mention as well, I think you said this previously, Pauls, that Jinx is one of the best tower pushing champions because of the passive that she gets from the minigun. From the sorry, I've completely forgot what it's called now. What's the weapon called?
Pow Pow.
That's the one,
yeah.
Pow Pow. And when she gets the stacks of the attack speed bonus, she can just rip through those towers.
Yeah, like, Jinx is good for sieging towers in two ways. Like, generally when you see an AD carry, like, okay, well, range is really good. One of the reasons why the Koreans used to use Kog'Maw a lot in their scene is because he offered basically what Caitlyn did, long range, and it didn't really matter that that was not consistent long range, because tower pushing is not you sitting there. It's you backing off, waiting for the minion wave, and then you can just activate that Biocane barrage and then go for the tower. Works out really well. But not only does she have the range if they need it, if they can get up close, then she can just destroy towers with the minigun. So Jinx is perfect for sieging and actually suits SK's playstyle really well. She not only survived the laning phase, but is actually out farming Caitlyn. And the fact that they're so good at rotating means that if they get there, even like 5 seconds faster than TCM, then they can just destroy a turret and then run off. Get Excited comes in, and then they disengage. And then if they do get engaged on with, say, Cataclysm, Nif throws down the Stranglethorns, no one can catch up.
Yeah, and as you're saying before, you know, is ahead on farm and also ahead on damage, has a Bloodthirster and the components of a Last Whisper, whereas Caitlyn just has the Infinity Edge, and Infinity Edge is a good item for Caitlyn, make no mistake, but I feel needs like a Last Whisper and a Phantom Dancer or a Static Shiv before she really starts to hit that power spike and becomes a real terror to deal with. Have a pause coming in, but the players are already asking if they can go, so hopefully, fingers crossed, it's not going to be for too long.
Yeah, apparently someone's wire got stuck around his chair and they just momentarily paused out. So, gonna be jumping straight back into the action, and now we have another pause. Interesting.
Not too sure what's going on here. I don't know, Ruben, do you have the chat enabled for stream? No, he doesn't, so we'll try and talk you through. Oh, never mind, the unpause just came about,
okay.
Paul, so no need anyway. But not a great deal is happening. 1 kill in about 20 minutes is a noticeable slowing in pace of these best of ones that we've had thus far. Of course, the best of 5 overall, where we've kind of had all hell breaking loose, Pulse, like 10, 15 kills at this stage at least.
It's true, but these team compositions are kind of more reflective of the team's playstyles. And when you just put them against each other, this is the type of game that you get. SK is looking for those objectives, looking to rotate, because they know that when they rotate, they can beat them in trades, and they're much better at doing so. They're very slick at moving between lanes and going for these small skirmishes. They know they can beat TCM in these scenarios. Why change that? TCM know they're probably better at teamfights when we get into late game, but right now is when SK are starting to make those plays, when they can start chunking down these towers. It's a matter of how much damage they can do at this stage in the game.
Oh, Death Sentence lands on Svenskeren, and that was beautiful play, and the teleport as well from Lissandra, flashing in, Shockwave from Oriana, though, doing so much damage. Barney D's forced to back away, pops down the box, trying to stop the onslaught from SK Gaming, finally pick up their first kill in this confrontation, and their second overall. JWoww is round from the side, but it's not able to re-engage on top of this one, so 1-for-0 trade with a teleport and Stand United burnt in the process, and that's going to allow SK Gaming, seeing as they're pretty high in hit points, to pick up this free dragon.
Yeah, they couldn't really go for the tower because a re-engagement from TCM definitely could have meant more kills going in the opposite direction, but Dragon is the smart choice and a very easy choice for SK Gaming. They need to make sure that they don't overstay though, because a swift push in the mid lane, which is what JWoww's attempting to do, could mean the middle tower going down, and as a result Candy Panda is actually going to hold off from recalling.
I think that's been one of their main Achilles heels thus far in the best of 3 that we've had, Pulse, of course best of 5 overall, is they have overstayed a few times. I'm thinking mainly of in game number 2 when they took the inhib tower and they went for the inhib and kills, and they ended up dying 3 of them, and that started the comeback trail from TCM. So SK Gaming, they need to learn from those over aggressive plays and maybe just play a bit safer.
Yeah, but this game they have much better scaling. They're not running a LeBlanc, whose damage will eventually scale off and can be itemized against. They have Oriana, who will still work very efficiently in a team fight. Their top laner will be Shen, so he's still going to be able to split push. Yes, we've already spoken about the answer of Lissandra, but that still means having to commit someone down there is probably more valuable than Shen in a team fight. One of the reasons why Shen is so strong is not only because of the teleport, his teamfight potential is not actually that strong. It's kind of the same as Jax. Yes, he dishes out a lot of damage, but he finds it very difficult to connect to the right people and actually stick to them, whereas Shen just carries on split pushing, and you have to commit someone who is more valuable than Shen, even if Shen's behind.
Yeah, but interesting enough, speaking of Shen, they're now at bot lane instead of top, so you're not going to see this shift come about. JWoww is going to find himself Svenskeren. I don't think Svenskeren wants to play this one completely aggressive, so he's going to back away. Snowhole comes through, now Terrador from the side, Cataclysm on Candy Panda, who puts the Flame Chompers down, going to isolate the rest of TCM away from their jungler, but the damage has already been done, and Svenskeren goes down, Shockwave comes in, big damage chunk down both onto Naruto and Matroko. Matroko will finally pick up that kill after a double kill comes in from Candy Panda, getting the 2 from the grave. 4-2 overall. TCM clawing their way back slightly, but it's still a long way to climb.
And that was TCM actually catching SK with their pants down, and they still came out basically equal, and now they're going to start trading and chunking down this tower. They can't actually do that with Caitlyn still up, and in that team fight, Candy Panda's passive of Get Excited was so valuable right there. It was interesting that Riven committed herself so hard to Svenskeren when they had Candy Panda available to be picked up. They picked up the kill and Candy Panda had tagged them, so Get Excited almost secured his escape. But it's those type of small scrappy skirmishes that Jinx really excels in.
Yeah, and that's exactly the way this game's been going as well, Paul. So it's been those small advantages that have made the big difference, because we've not had the explosive gameplay of both games 1 and 2. It's been a much slower, tense affair here. So Candy Panda taking these small advantages has actually transitioned itself now in a 1,000 gold lead over Caitlyn, which isn't necessarily huge, but when a game's this tight, it's every little counts. So Candy Panda is slightly ahead of Caitlyn, and that's being seen in these close team fight kind of situations.
Yeah, absolutely, and Barney D almost found himself Nif, which would have been a very good pick, but they're looking to actually find himself Freddy 122, who hasn't even realised this is coming in. Glacial Path comes across.
Yep, not looking too good for Freddy, although he will be shadow dashing away, but he's going back to the enemy's towers, so he's in no man's land right now, behind enemy lines. Can he escape from 3 players? Doesn't look likely. He's extremely tanky right now, forcing off the Frozen Tomb. Death Sentence will miss as well, but a beautiful flight from Barney D pushing him back in. Here comes the Shadow Dash again. Finally pick up the kill, but my goodness, Shen's tanky.
Meanwhile,
and that's bought enough time for Baron to be picked up from SK Gaming.
Such a good rotation from SK Gaming. Did you see how long Shen kept himself alive? That was like 20 seconds. And then it was that snap decision. Just go Baron right now. And JWoww is going to be caught in rotation as well.
He is, and this is going to be curtains for TCM if JWoww falls. It's bad enough that the Baron has been picked up, but JWoww is such an integral part of keeping this alive. He's going to fall. Question now, does SK Gaming have enough time with 40 seconds to get more objectives? They could just very well be happy enough to go ahead, push the lane, recall, and spend some of that gold they just earned.
Yeah, and Shen's going to be pretty happy with that scenario, and Belgian Beast also caught out.
Belgian Beast is going to be going down to the ultimate of Jinx, the Super Mega Death Rocket. Ultimate comes in from Shen as well. Not going to be used offensively. It's used offensively. They want to push down this inhibitor, and it's going to be a much better situation with 5 players batting this one down. Will they go for the bottom tower as well? Now Terador is recalling, forced to cancel that one away, and indeed they will be. They'll be going for this bottom tower. Such smart play from SK Gaming.
And they're just moving from strength to strength, picking up even more towers. Caitlyn not even sure if she wants to go down there by herself, and she's going to stick around, try and poke someone out, but their zoning control is so good. From Zyra, also from the Bull from Orianna, and also Flame Chompers, makes it very difficult to get near the turret without being CC'd and potentially taken down. So that was Baron, a tower in mid, and the inhibitor, and a tower at bot lane.
Yeah, and a couple kills as well, as if not to rub salt in the wounds and kick TCM while they're down. And again, you just have to say, Freddy, take a bow. He drew through 3 players to bot lane, kept them all busy for 20-30 seconds, and SK Gaming were like, okay, you're a tanky beast right now. We'll just go ahead and pick up this free Baron. So again, it's what I said previously, that SK Gaming seem to be always a step ahead of TCM in these early to mid-game stages. They're always looking for that next objective.
Yeah, and it's just SK outplaying TCM in these big picture plays. Their shot calling is always on point, whereas TCM makes some very questionable decisions. They recognize the situation they're in, and then say, okay, well, the decision here is to try and get a pick. And that's not necessarily what they need to go for. Honestly, just playing the slow game would have been the better choice. But sometimes just sitting there and farming for half an hour is not what you want to be doing when playing League of Legends.
Yeah, some players definitely get trigger happy, don't they?
Yeah.
Especially speaking from an AD carry's perspective, I get very bored if it's getting 20-25 minutes and I've not got a kill. I get bloodthirsty, and maybe that's the same mentality of TCM here. They wanted to force plays. Unfortunately, in doing so, it's been somewhat their undoing, because now it's Baron buffed up, SK Gaming, about a 10,000 gold lead. In fact, it's 9.2 to be precise, but Pulse, we did see this in game number 2, and TCM came back, so it's not completely out of question that they'll rinse and repeat from game number 2.
Indeed, but in the second game, SK weren't running a team composition that fared well in the late game. Yes, they still have Matraco on his favoured champion of Caitlyn, but now they have answers, and they also have answers in forms of the team fight. 0-0-6 Orianna, okay, maybe not the best of scorelines, but then you take a look at the 270 farm, and then you reconsider.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Shen is going to be split pushing at bot lane right now. He has his ultimate available as well if they so choose. Svenskaren's going super deep. Here does come the stand united from Shen, looking to bat down the inhibitor tower instead. Now jumping on Barney D, gets insta-gib, does get the box down. Here comes the Frozen Tomb as well, but a beautiful shockwave from Jezis in the meanwhile on both Matraco and JWoww, forcing them backwards. The re-engage comes in. Jezis is hungry for the kill, and Belgian Beast finally takes that one down, and they're going to look to convert into their second consecutive inhibitor. It's just gone from bad to a lot worse for TCM.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like they can clear this wave effectively. Freddy has been farming the entire game. They can't really deal with him. They go for the next fight.
They do. The Cataclysm comes down. It's going to be stopping some of that damage being put out. Matraco fires in the ace in the hole, but there's Candy Panda 6-1 right now. Could be 7-1. There we go. The ultimate comes in for the double kill. Looking for the triple. Will be picking up the triple kill, and the GG will be coming afterwards. That's going to make it a 2-1 in SK Gaming's favour in this best of 5.
And in a matter of minutes, SK convert their huge farming advantage and their huge objective advantage into the next win. 2-1, as you mentioned, metas to SK Gaming.
Yes, indeed. So, it's still anyone's game, but definitely the advantage going into SK, not just because they're 2-1 ahead and need one more game out of these next two to win, but again, it's that keyword that we use time and time again here, Pulse. It's the momentum. They lost a game two that really they should have won, so coming back would have probably just held off the nerves a tiny bit. It would have just got them a bit more stable, thinking, okay guys, we got this, we got no problems.
Yeah, absolutely. But we will be jumping to a quick commercial break before we get back for the fourth game with SK Gaming and TCM Gaming. We'll be back very shortly.